Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/ProRevenge. In today's episode, manager tried to take a delivery man's livelihood, makes him fear for his family's future. Don't worry, I've got your back. You don't want me to do extra? Fine, I won't. Be a model employee, but don't be too much a model employee. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Manager tried to take a delivery man's livelihood, makes him fear for his family's future. Don't worry, I've got your back. Back in the warehouse days, we had an ever-growing clearance section. Because of this, the company employed a delivery driver to be solely responsible for delivering clearance items purchased by customers. This delivery driver, let's call him John, was amazing. He was a veteran of the industry, had 2 trucks. A smaller and a larger one. Did most of the heavy lifting. Always took the time to chat to me as I helped him load up his delivery run. Would bring me beer when it was an extremely hot day. And knew I'd been busting my ass. He had worked for a bunch of high-end furniture stores, but when the recession hit, and companies went belly up or cut costs, he found himself struggling for work. The company I worked for had a problem with delivery drivers, due to the fact the company was cheap and wouldn't pay the industry rates most delivery drivers charged. John was happy to make a few concessions for cash in hand deliveries, and naturally management took advantage of that. After a few problems in the warehouse, I asked John if I could get a few shifts working for him as his delivery offsider. John immediately said yes, as he had problems of his own with lazy employees. I immediately fell in love with the work. We would do a 4 a.m. start to get deliveries on the watch 6. And if we scheduled it correctly, we could be done by 2 to 2:30. I loved the physicality of it, loved being on the open road, and loved swapping stories with John. He would talk about his wife and kids, and I'd make fun of his tacky scorpion tattoo. The problem started when John would get his delivery run sheet from the store, and would see the delivery prices quoted to the customer from the manager. To give you an idea, the store would charge $95 for a local delivery. This was with a full day of deliveries, and approximately 20 to 30 deliveries. John would charge slightly more as he was doing maybe 5 to 8 deliveries, and they'd be all over, as opposed to all being in a specific area. John would go in and chat to the manager and ask why a customer was only being charged $50 for a 3-seater sofa bed, going up 6 flights of stairs, when normally it would be a $110 delivery charge and $100 for every flight of stair past the first level. The manager would just shrug and say she reduced the delivery to close the sale. We'd get other deliveries where we'd have to carry a 10-piece sectional sofa up 7 flights of stairs because the customer wouldn't reserve an elevator. Or in some cases the goods wouldn't fit in the lift. We'd get the sofa inside, unbag it, connect the sections, take the rubbish away, only for the customer to hand John $30 in cash. It was soul-crushing. I remember getting the customer to sign off on the paperwork as John said he'd meet me back at the truck. I grabbed the last bits of rubbish and made my way downstairs and jumped into the passenger seat. John was trying not to look at me. He'd been crying. I asked if he was okay, and he kind of broke down a little and confided in me that he was struggling with bills, that the company I worked for was his only decent paying job, that he was getting screwed over by the manager, that he might have to sell his trucks to pay his bills. My heart went out for this guy. He was becoming a fast friend and genuinely loved his job. I began to hatch a plan. Based on my inside knowledge of the manager, the area manager, the general manager, and the company in general, I took John to a small bar and bought us a few drinks. We sat in a booth and I began to lay out my plan for revenge. I asked John why he didn't give the manager a price list and charge more for his deliveries. John, if I do that, the manager said that they'd drop me as their driver and find someone cheaper. I laughed. Me call her now and quit. I explained that we had seen the run sheet for tomorrow. We had a massive run, 10 deliveries, and we already knew the manager had quoted ridiculously cheap prices, like $20 a delivery. John wasn't sure. Me look, any other contract driver would charge $200 minimum per delivery. There's no way another driver will touch this company. John got on the phone, called the manager, put her on speaker, and quit right then and there. The manager, as expected, talked a big game. She said they'd be better off without John, and that he just lost his biggest contract. John hung up, looking sick and panicked. I reassured him it'd be okay. I checked my watch. The store closed at 5 p.m. It was currently 1 p.m. I promised John by 4 p.m. he'd get a call back from the manager. In the meantime, we set about creating a new list of demands. That if they were to employ John, they'd do the following: charge a preset price, given to them by John. Pay for John's off-cider and gas. For any difficult deliveries, balcony lifts, fire escape deliveries, they'd charge an additional fee. That if they wanted to terminate John, they'd have to give him the appropriate notice. Sure enough, at 4:30, John's phone rings. Would you look at that? It's the manager. John answers and puts the phone on speaker. The manager, in a much more polite tone, says that if John will do the delivery tomorrow, she'll offer him a $50 gift card for the store. I hang up the call. John looks at me in disbelief. I tell him when she calls back, you lay out your demands. And that's that. 5 minutes later, his phone rings again. It's the manager. John answers and puts her on speakerphone. The manager starts her spiel, but John cuts her off. John begins listing the problems he's having with the company. At first he's nervous, but then the months of being screwed over kick in, and he lays down the law like a champion. The manager laughs off John's request, and I encourage John to relay the next bit of information to manager Dash. John, you know as well as I do, no other contract company/contract driver would get out of bed for less than $250 a delivery. For what you're proposing, you either sign off on my demands or good luck tomorrow. Manager: fine, do the delivery tomorrow, and then we can. John: no. I'm coming down there now. You'll sign off on everything. Then we will load the truck up tonight and finish the delivery tomorrow. He hangs up. We go to the store and the manager looks pissed. She keeps bitching that John has her between a rock and a hard place, and that John is extorting her. I can't help but point out that I'm sure John's kids would like to eat tomorrow. John slaps the new contract he's written up by hand in the truck, and says sign it. The manager signs it. And John backs his truck into the warehouse. We notice as per usual it's sofa beds, glass coffee tables. The heaviest items this company sells. The manager walks out to the warehouse and smirks as we struggle to load the extremely heavy goods into the truck. As we finish, the manager has a few snarky parting words. Manager: John, with this new contract, just so we are clear, you have to fulfill the delivery no matter what? Me: no matter what, huh? Manager: even if the customer isn't home, I expect you to make sure the goods are there. I don't want any goods coming back to the warehouse. John: you got it. It was a glorious delivery day the next day. 80% of customers' goods wouldn't fit. As the manager didn't explain to the customers that they had to measure their door frames. We had customers screaming at us, abusing us, saying it was unfair they had to now pay more than $20. And how dare we charge them more? We just laughed and complied with the manager's directive. We left every piece of furniture at the property. Some in the hallways. Others in the middle of doorways. Some we just left at the front door, as some customers refused to accept the delivery as they didn't want to pay us any money at all. For the nice ones who had cash ready and were happy to pay us for our obvious efforts, we went that extra mile to get the goods in and make sure they had the best delivery experience possible. You don't want me to do extra? Fine, I won't. What do crates of milk, a train/coach journey, 2 shopping trolleys full of waste, and unpaid overtime have in common? A great malicious compliance story from my days in supermarkets. At this time, I was a department manager in the 3rd biggest supermarket chain in the country. I knew how to do my job and do it well. And even though we were entitled to 4 weeks holiday every year, I only ever took 2. I'm that dedicated to my job. Anyway, I decided that I wanted to have my annual holiday, but made sure I gave plenty of notice to my store manager, about 3 months' notice. In recent months, there had been a pretty big turnover of staff, so therefore anyone that was able to fill in for me was no longer there. On top of that, delivery schedules had changed, so as a result I would often be coming in on a day off to do orders and do some general tidying up. Unpaid, of course, since this company absolutely hated paying overtime. I didn't mind, I was dedicated to my job. I asked my store manager, when I put in for my holidays, which were approved straight away, who he would like me to train up to run the department while I was on holidays. He said we can wait until closer to the date. I was fine with that. I asked again about 2 months out, and then 1 month out. Again he said we can wait until closer to the date. 2 weeks before my holidays, and still I had not trained anyone to cover for me. I started talking to one of my friends there, who was keen on getting experience in other departments, and started showing her a few things. It was about this time that the store manager started having to come in on my day off, to do reports for head office. When he saw me in as well, he asked me to stop coming in and doing overtime. I said that I had to because of the delivery schedule, and he simply told me to do the orders earlier, and that me coming in on my days off makes his statistics look bad. I'm not getting paid, so what statistics? I then asked him about training someone, and he said so and so knows how to do orders, he can do it. This person had no idea how to do orders for my department. There were different systems and requirements to ordering. I said I would be happy to show someone, and he ordered me to go away. Fine. 1 week before going on holidays, I tried to sneak in to do the orders to comply with the delivery schedule. I was just about done when the store manager comes in. He sees me and calls me into the office. Once again he says he doesn't want to see me in here on a day off, no matter what. He says when I get back from holidays, he is going to call an HR, and says that there may be a warning go onto my file as a result. Again, a company complaining about unpaid overtime? I also mentioned that there is more to running my department than just putting an order into the system. There is calculating what to order, when to order, how to run specials on the right products, etc. And the store manager simply replies anyone can do it. It isn't difficult, fine. If he wants to be like that, I can be like that. Cue the malicious compliance. For the next week, I made sure there was absolutely no unpaid overtime. I clocked on exactly on time, to the second, and clocked off at the exact time, to the second. If there was a late delivery that came in, and there were 2 large ones that did, I just left in the middle of the delivery. I told the duty manager what the store manager had said, and just walked out. By the end of the week, day before my holidays begin, the store manager had me in his office wanting to know why I didn't look after the deliveries, and I told him what he said about the no unpaid overtime. He said I have responsibilities as a department manager, and that I was neglecting them by not taking the deliveries. I turned around and asked him if he was going to pay me overtime, and he said no. I asked him if he was going to authorize unpaid overtime, he said no. So I asked him what am I supposed to do then, and he replied your job, then told me to get out of his office. I finished for the day, glad to be on holidays. I only had a couple of hours to get home, change out of my work clothes, and head off to catch the train. I was traveling overnight. At around 3:30 a.m., I changed to a coach for the rest of my journey, getting to my destination at 5:30 a.m. I turn my phone on while sitting at the coach terminal, and almost immediately I have several messages from work. There is a message about a problem with the milk delivery. There was another message about a problem with the milk delivery. There was a message about a problem with the bread delivery, all things that could have been easily sorted if I had been allowed to train someone. But I don't ring them back. I am on holidays, and if I ring them back to help them fix up problems, am I not technically doing unpaid overtime? Even if I am not on site, I am still doing my job essentially. A couple of days later, I check in with one of my friends at work, just to see how things are going. They tell me the mess that my department, and the whole store, has suddenly become. We both laugh about it, because we knew what was going to happen. She told me that they were getting a department manager from another store to come in to try to fix the mess, but she doesn't think it will help. My holidays finish, and I go back to work, expecting a shit show. My second day back, the store manager has me in his office, with someone from HR, and he already had a written report filled out. The area manager then comes into the office, sits down, and starts to talk. He wants to know why I let the department go the way it did. And then I told the area manager everything. I told him about how I was coming in to do unpaid overtime, and was told to stop, or I would get a warning. He asked about supervising someone so they could take over while I was on holidays. I told him that I repeatedly asked, and the store manager didn't see the need. I was asked why I didn't answer any of my phone calls, and I again stated about the unpaid overtime doing my job and training someone to do my job. I was then asked to leave the office and go back to work. I don't know what happened after I left, but the store manager was rather cranky, especially towards me, for a couple of weeks. I never got a warning either. And just for the record, the cost of my malicious compliance is as follows. Asterisk extra wages for the people who had to come in to fix things up. Asterisk nearly $1,000 of waste from 2 shopping trolleys of goods that were never marked down. Asterisk lost sales from the lack of milk to sell. Asterisk lost sales from the lack of bread to sell. Asterisk $600 waste from wrong products ordered and couldn't be sold. Asterisk lost sales from empty shelves. Be a model employee, but don't be too much a model employee. I work PT for that big blue vest wearing box store as a cashier. We recently got a new front manager who is a huge hypocrite. I got a verbal warning about things I talked about which made other employees uncomfortable, yet she admitted to talking about not allowed subjects with another employee because he really didn't give a poop if they fired him, yet she could not give me any examples and told me to just be less open and offensive and more of a model employee. Of course everyone noticed I was not my usual happy lookout for others self, that was not required in the by-the-book manual, and I told them what was going on as much as I was able. If I revealed too much I could have been written up for trying to find out what I had done so offensive that she couldn't give an example. My direct supervisor was speechless and not happy as I tend to bring people's attitudes up. Cue malicious compliance. I am fast on a register. The company wants so many scans per hour, I usually do 25% over the goal and double what most cashiers do, so I bring the daily numbers up quite a bit. I asked around and found out what the other cashiers were doing per hour, so I met their goals as close as possible, which of course killed the store goals. This manager also removed me from the self-checkout for most shifts where I knew most of the cheats and could spot the things not scanned, and of course the loss numbers started climbing. My supervisor was confused at my scans, but I told her I was being a model employee, and she realized just how malicious I could be. Even our door watcher was upset that I was on regular cash, because he was having to stop a lot more people who weren't scanning large items under their carts. Eventually the manager asked my supervisor what was wrong with me because I was so quiet. Guess she forgot what she told me, and she was told I was being the model employee she asked me to be since I had no clue what I did to offend. I was just being not offensive. She couldn't confront me because not long after this the global issue hit, and I took leave, and then the loss numbers really went through the roof according to people I worked with, LOL. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.